I want the truth and nothing but the truth.
What's up everyone, it's your lawyer, Godot, and it's been a minute since I have uploaded a scaling video. Well, a month to be exact, but I assure you that time has not been wasted because today I'm gonna scale the downplayed, overlooked GOAT, Jonathan Joestar. If any of y'all really want to see me do a video you want or just donate for the cause, just check out my Patreon and Cash App that's linked in the description of this video. Anyways, let's get to it. Now, there will be two sides of Jonathan scaling in this video. The first, I'll just cover part 1 only scaling, then the second will be part 1 and 3 scaling. Also, don't worry, there won't be any crazy rabbit holes for either side of scaling, as Jonathan's scaling is very simple and straight to the point. Now, Jonathan part 1. So Jonathan is a skilled 19th century boxer, and Jonathan pre-Hamon has the strength to drag 3 grown, muscular men in football. Jonathan doesn't care about taking damage, especially if it'll put him in an advantageous position, because he has the mental power to withstand fear and pain. Anyways, Jonathan rocks Speedwagon and his goons, and what's important to note is that about Jonathan's character is that he's a noble gentleman that normally won't kill or just seriously maim people. He won't even attack an opponent while they're down. Speedwagon even says if Jonathan didn't have his own ideals, Jonathan would have killed them. Jonathan one-shots just a fodder zombie / vampire, and Jonathan, while injured pre-Hamon, grabs Speedwagon and just perception blitzes Dio that just became a vampire, right? And even Dio's perplexed about this. He's like, what the fuck? This speed feat becomes really impressive when I get to Dio's speed later on. Now, Dio broke Jonathan's ribs and arms, and Jonathan still continued to persist to catch that W. Keep in mind that Dio right now is like a fodder vampire in this moment compares to the building level feat shown by a previous accidental vampire. Now we get introduced to Hamon as Jonathan will begin his training. Hamon can heal injuries that would have taken months to heal and numb pain. Hamon is a ripple / wave energy that carries through your breathing, blood, and cells. Sendo Hamon through biological creatures and objects. Jonathan just getting his Hamon right with no training is shown to be incredibly gifted and have a lot of potential. Blossoms bloom when Jonathan touches a tree, right? The zoom punch, another Hamon thing, right, extends your arm joints to make your fists go further. This technique is also an attack speed boost, as it's capable of being faster on the draw in an equal speed scenario. Hamon negs evil in vampires, right, or evil spirits to be exact. Hamon has waves similar to the sun. Now, what does this mean, right? Basically, wave velocity equals wavelength times wave frequency. And since Hamon's waves are created by the sun, or similar to the sun, or in a Japanese translation, shaped by the sun, that means it has the same wavelength frequency and thus velocity and vice versa as the sun's, which are made up of light particles called photons that move at the speed of light, and they take 8 minutes to reach the Earth, for example. Now, Hamon through liquids can detect and point to life, right? So it's like a life detector. Anyways, Jonathan can send Hamon through walls via Sendo Hamon Overdrive and one-shots Jack the Ripper, which is impressive because Jack the Ripper was capable of performing a low city block level feat earlier by collapsing a tunnel by throwing a carriage. Hamon lets you walk on water. Hamon can be calculated enough to travel into an up steep cliff style, blast a person off of it. Zappelli and reasonably, Jonathan resisted fear hacks from Dio in their second fight. Dio performs a reaction / combat speed feat that is 8.9 times faster than light. Dio freezes the arm before Hamon could fully travel through it. Jonathan is able to intercept this Dio. Jonathan reacts to an unconventional attack that he didn't even expect. Jonathan will do the opposite of what his opponent basically expects him to do or wants him to conventionally do, right? And through this, a new Hamon technique is created, underwater turquoise blue overdrive. Bruford was able to dodge 90% of this attack. That reaction / combat feat was calced to be around 75% the speed of light, or relativistic plus. And I'll quote the calcer. He says, I would say, going off of Jonathan's statement, that he moved as fast as Hamon in water, meaning we just use the speed of light in water, since Hamon in its purest form would be light essentially. And here's a doc below that we linked in the description on Google explaining the speed of sound and light are in different mediums, and water is 75.3% the speed of light. Now next is Jonathan reacts to Bruford with a new attack, Metal Silver Overdrive, Hamon that transfers through metal. It's also impressive to note that Hamon on the user's hands or feet will act as blades themselves to stop sharp objects such as swords. Jonathan's Hamon Barrage Sunlight Yellow Overdrive. Hamon has like existence erasure / durability negation, and what I mean by that is like, okay, basically it neg you if you have an evil spirit, erases that shit, right? It also negs vampires like weak to sunlight physically, right? And anyone else who's not a vampire or whatever, doesn't have that weakness to sunlight, it just melts anybody who's just weaker, like 100 times weaker than a Hamon being transferred on your body, or into your body, I mean. Hamon also technically pacifies. If a good spirit turns evil, Hamon will literally revert the evil, back to good. Jonathan, by this time, gets a sword named Pluck. There's also Life Magnetism Overdrive, which attracts leaves and other plant life to make a glider. Hamon can see into the faded future. Zappelli transferred his full Hamon life energy into Jonathan. Jonathan gets a full stat amp, blitzes, and one-shots Tarkus. And keep in mind, this Tarkus earlier performed like a city block level AP feat. Okay, let me let the copy in the description, of course. Jonathan can react to attacks without looking. Jonathan once again reacts accordingly and unconditionally, just towards attacks he doesn't expect, right? Or unconventionally, I mean. So Jonathan gets cut and poisoned by snakes. So he just squeezes the poison out by pushing out of his blood flow, and uses Hamon to control the snakes to devour the user. Jonathan is also shown later rejecting zombie extract from his system. Jonathan infuses his Hamon, right? He fuses Hamon with a Pluck, so he can have that shit on his sword, right? Dio's travel speed is at least on the level of a cheetah's via the Speedwagon statement about his moves. Jonathan is able to react to and outmaneuver Dio, cutting his arm off and splitting Dio down the middle. And keep in mind that Dio by this point is the strongest and fastest vampire, so he'd scale above any fodder vampire feat, right? Also, Vampire Straight So scales to Part 1 Dio too. Now, Jonathan has great battlefield awareness and will use it to get himself out of certain scenarios. Jonathan once again being able to physically hurt Dio, then proceeds to one-shot Dio too. Dio fires an eye laser that Jonathan had a little bit of trouble reacting to, and obviously this eye beam has to be moving faster than any of the FTL feats these characters have shown so far. But outside of that, Dio's eye lasers was said by Jonathan to be a beam of light in original translations, and in the manga this feat was recalced to be 3 times faster than light, and in the anime, not accounting for Dio's eye lasers being light based, right? The feat was calced at 28% the speed of light, or low relativistic. Another speed feat that that's performed by Dio is that he chops off his head before Hamon could reach it. This combat / reaction feat was calced at 3 times faster than light. Second feat includes Hamon just negging Dio's regeneration and existence, erasing him. Dio, as I've scaled him before in my Dio video that y'all can go watch, I'll link it to, has low godly regeneration, which is regenerating from complete physical destruction of the user's body and being regenerated from the mind, soul, or something non-physical. So Hamon can neg beings with that type of regeneration, and regeneration could possibly, at least the negging of it, could be higher due to it erasing evil spirits. Now, Jonathan reacts to Dio's eye lasers for a second time and he jobs, right? And even when Jonathan literally can't breathe due to injury, he can still use one last Hamon attack to take out his opponent. Jonathan with Hamon can puppeteer your body and give the commands. Jonathan, keep in mind, he's fucking dead, okay? Dio killed him. And Dio, as a head, by the way, both of them are literally in the epicenter of a ship explosion. And this was consistently calced as City Block Plus. Keep in mind, Jonathan's dead, so he's at his weak. Obviously, he's at his weakest. He's fucking dead. And Dio's as a head, he's at his weakest. And they just tanked this explosion, and just Dio cuts off Jonathan's head after that, takes over his body, right? Now here's some extras that Jonathan can also do with his Hamon. Hamon durability negates, like it fries a pilot's brain in part 2, and it can also shut down the heart. Keep in mind, this is just Hamon traveling through your body. It's not some like external damage, it's inside out pretty much. Now, with that all out of the way, right, here's the conclusions for part 1 Jonathan scaling. Now his AP/durability is multi-city block. His destructive capability is wall level, at least safely, right? His reaction time and combat speed is faster than light plus. His travel speed is either faster than eyesight or superhuman. And for hacks, you know, we already went over it. Hamon is basically his general uses. He resists fear hacks, and he also has, of course, the Joestar Destiny like hacks, right? Which is of course in my like Fate videos or JoJo Cosmology video where I go to Fate, right? JoJo has a huge thing. Now on to part 3 Jonathan scaling that would massively upscale part 1. Now, Dio took over Jonathan's body. It's consistently stated and shown that this body is weaker and slower than it was in its prime. It's also like constantly like resisting Dio's control, and Dio's regeneration has also taken a big hit because of that too. So with that, any feat Dio performs to Jonathan's body applies to Jonathan in part 1 in terms of upscaling, because like Jonathan obviously scales to himself. Like it's not even an argument. If you think otherwise, I don't know what to tell you. Anyways, right, so this easily puts Jonathan in his prime to be like city level AP and massively faster than light in terms of like general like let's say combat and reaction time speed, as like Dio can physically compete with Star Platinum and Hierophant Green. And you can confirm this scaling is true via my immaculate How Strong is Jotaro Kujo video. And that's pretty much it. Very straightforward and simple. If any of you have any heavy disagreements with any of my scaling in this video, or maybe even others, join my Discord server that's linked in the description, and hop in a like voice call with me so we can discuss it, because I'm not going to text debate you at all, because I hate that shit. Anyways, I hope y'all, well, I hope not just y'all, but just mainly just everyone, I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with notifications on, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.